So today I'm with Trish Church, and Trish is our Director of Education. And I thought it'd be a great follow-up to Tammy because it's such the heartbeat of what we do in our core values. Trish, how long have you been with us now?
13 years.
Oh my goodness, just a baby. And you started in education.
Yes.
And have grown up in education.
Yes.
Tell me what's your favorite part about being in the education department, besides the fact that you're a hairdresser?
So my favorite part is watching all the events come together, right? So from the initial idea of what could it be, right? So we take that idea, we put it in action, and then we watch it happen, right? Like I love seeing then the light bulb of the hairdresser go off while they're styling and cutting and coloring. Like, oh, yes, those aha moments.
I always wonder when you're in the crowd, do you ever get lost as a hairdresser?
Sometimes, but there's so many times where I'm thinking about, okay, what does this person need? What does this person need? So
I think that's the greatest gift you've brought to us, is anticipating the needs. We like to say that we anticipate the needs of our guests, whether they're spoken or unspoken, right?
Absolutely.
And we want them to want for nothing. So going into 2021, God bless you, and we look at this theater we're sitting in that usually is occupied on a weekly basis, and we've had emptiness around us. How did you plan the calendar this year?
No, I was start with plan A, but have a plan B, plan C, plan D as a backup for whatever changes we needed to come. So as much as look and learns we could do, we wanted to do those virtually. And then for those that wanted to be here, get their hands in it and do our hands-on here.
Do you remember when we were doing a temperature read of the whole company, and Steve said, on a scale of 0 to 10, what's your fear of COVID? And yours was a 0. You had none. And then we had other team members. I think I was probably a solid 6 or a 7. And you were a 0, so you would have opened education up. Let's go.
Right, I'm ready for it. Come on.
Come on, let's get in here. But what is the biggest frustration when you think of the attendees and who the owner sends to us? What's the hardest part for us?
So I would say the hardest part would be, maybe those that are here as compliance. They're not really here to learn. It makes it sometimes harder for the trainer to be able to get that energy.
Oh, engage them. If they're coming in just for hours in Illinois, that's difficult. Also, do you ever find that they send the wrong attendee? Maybe they don't have the skill set?
Sometimes.
Or how would you go about consulting a salon on who to send to what education?
I think kind of like with our educators, right? So we really want to schedule educators based on their skill sets, right? So if you know that you're the perfect colorist, then send them to a color class to build that skill versus maybe a styling class where they don't necessarily succeed in.
What was your favorite event? 2019, 2020, I know. What would have been the ones that you just said, this has to happen to here again?
Oh, that's a hard one. Because I love them all. I don't think, there's never a time where I'm like, ooh, I would never have them back. Everything they're just fun. Well,
and we learn from them, don't we?
Yes.
We tweak our system. What did we tweak in the last 2 years? I always say that because 2020 I don't know what we learned in education. I guess how to learn virtually.
That's a huge one, right? How to learn virtually, and really, as much as we say how flexible we are, I think 2020 definitely taught us how to adapt and how to adapt quickly.
But how did we make sure that we were getting the message out? How hard was that? How did you make those choices?
I was like, I guess I didn't really think about it, right? I just did it. We knew we needed education to
We
salons.
still did in-salon education. And I saw you purchased a Zoom TV and you created a Zoom room. Can you talk about that at all?
Yes. So we have Zoom TV, right, and a Zoom room. So what that means is we can have people here in our facility, and then we can also have people watching from home in their in their salons, in their home, and participating with those that are here. So
what's the difference of a regular TV? Because I don't get it.
So this TV has a camera, a microphone, a computer, everything built in at one.
And that helps us.
Mm-hmm.
So when we look at the hands-on portion, I mean, I walk in here sometimes and, I go, hi, everyone, and they're so in the zone. Mm-hmm. They don't even know I walked in the room. And I love that so much because the mark of a true professional is what they're willing to learn after they've kind of learned all the basics.
Sure.
Right? Who are some of the best instructors that have connected with our people?
It's not just one particular person. It's really those that are behind the chair, right? Because they can really relate to it. So that's what kind of the same thing that makes our educators so relatable is that they're doing it, living it every day versus sometimes, right, we have maybe a showcase artist or somebody who's been just teaching. Sometimes they forget what it's like to be behind the chair.
Oh, that's a great point. Tell us about your education department and your team.
So there's 3 of us, me, Casey, and Dana. And I would say it's the best team that we've had in such a long time. Everybody just is knows what the other person is thinking at the same time, right? It's like an unwritten language. We don't have to complete each other's thoughts.
Well, you know what? It's the only department in the company that faces each other. Whenever I give a tour, I talk about that because it's always because I've worked in the education department. The amount of times you could say, "Who are you on the phone with? I need them. Pass me to them. Oh, fill that in." And if you're in cubicles, that would never happen. But that office is just. We try to be a month out on everything. Talk about that to our listeners.
So to be a month out. Love it, but it almost sometimes could be not difficult, but right, we start planning an event or a class a month out, and when that class is here, we're like, oh, we're done thinking about that. That already happened a month ago.
So you have a checklist going up to the event.
So we start out by putting all the details together. So what do we need? Do we need models? Do we need mannequins? What type of product? What type of catering do we want to do? How do we want the room to look?
Do they have specific requirements for their prep rooms too?
Yeah, each educator that would come in would have a different requirement.
So when you talk to them, what's one of the questions you say to an artist when they're coming in to prepare them to be comfortable here?
So a couple of things that I would always ask is, one, what kind of looks do you want to show, right? We might have a little bit of a vision in place, but I like to leave it up to them to let them have creative work, so it's fun. So what are they looking to see? For models, what would be the ideal model that you're looking for?
Is that one of the hardest parts for us?
Models? Yes. Right? Because a lot of times we'll get somebody who says, I'm open to anything. And when you talk to them, no, I don't want my hair cut. I don't want it colored.
And the success of a show is mainly
models.
The quality of your models, right? And what do they tell you when you're asking them? We want you to want for nothing while you're here. Give us a list of what you expect from us.
Yes.
What do they say to you?
They always say, nobody does it like this. I don't get this treatment elsewhere.
So why do you think we're known for our customer service in the education department?
I mean, the way we care for them, the way that, we anticipate their needs.
Tell me the little things that you do that they're not expecting.
So when everyone comes in, I try to be sneaky and find out what are their favorite snacks, what are their favorite treats. We send a welcome bag to the hotel, and that includes that. So whether it's a Starbucks, a Dunkin' gift card, some extra gummy bears, favorite chocolates.
Do they always comment when they come in?
Oh, yes. They're like, what was this? Or we'll see it on social media.
So we created a relationship with the hotel, too, so they know you're bringing that over. What else do we do?
We make sure that we pick them up in the morning. We drive them here. We take them to dinner. That's kind of one of my favorite Times is when we get to take them out to dinner, we get that one-on-one and really get to pick their brain, right? See what they're working on, see what's coming up next.
Oh yeah, that probably sets you up for the next year.
Mm-hmm.
Do you always make sure they're assigned to someone?
Mm-hmm.
So when you think about people going to dinner, we make it look seamless, but that's all part of your preparation.
Absolutely.
And when we get the itinerary, the whole company, we know who's taking care of what.
Mm-hmm.
What about Sundays? What's Sundays like for us?
Sundays?
We try to protect family, but sometimes it's unavoidable.
I don't know. I almost kind of like being here on Sundays without the rest of the company here, right? Because then it's like you can focus one-on-one with the class, with the attendees.
Phone's not ringing.
Phone's not ringing.
So when you start to sit down, you're going to plan a year, because many people live in the moment in our industry, as you know. And in your position, you don't get that luxury at all. I mean, if we launch something or a new product's coming out with a brand, you know about it usually 6 months ahead of everyone else in the company, because education moves first. But when you sit down with a blank slate and start thinking about your year, what do you do? How do you go about it?
So, I mean, like you said, I really look at, okay, what is the manufacturer doing?
So you list all of them.
Yes. And so what is their focus, right? So tons of planning meetings. Are we launching new products? And then from there, base education around that. Then for those that we don't know, I try to look at this season, right? So in the summer, do we want to do blondes? Around spring and fall time, springtime we'll do styling for proms and weddings.
Good.
And then just, research. Look at different companies, different websites. Hairbrain for one, behind the chair. Just seeing what are the trends? What is out there?
So how do you stay ahead of the trends? I'm so glad you're a hairdresser, because that helps a great deal. But how do you stay ahead?
I think really by, just watching what's going on in the industry. Watching different artists within the brands that we represent.
But you make it sound so easy, like, well, but it's a whole 12-month calendar, and you become an event planner right then. Yes?
Yes.
And many salons don't have a plan going week to week. How do they go about? I couldn't imagine. One of the things that I get on every single class is a budget from you. I can see all the attendees. I can see all the no-shows. I can see the salons. We have a leaderboard that tells us the top salons that took advantage of education. I can see the events that brought in the most enthusiasm, ticket sales, the people that wanted to be here. And I'm sure you take those into consideration too when you're planning the year. But how do you start positioning all of it and moving everything? Because then you get a phone call and you go, I want June 23rd for this person. It'd be perfect. And they say, no, I can't do that.
That doesn't work, and then move it around.
So then you're playing chess, right?
Yep.
Moving everything around again. How do you stay? I know it's a hectic time, and I try to tell everyone, leave her alone, give her space. But if we don't have you as an anchor to start to move what is our moving parts for the year, I think we'd be lost. And so I don't know how salons don't know the education they want to have. Maybe there's celebrations, maybe open houses to create new customers. I mean, talk about some of the launches that you've done, because I think those are fabulous.
Where do we even start, right? 13 years of launches. I think, the launches are so fun when, especially color, right? Color is just, it's fun, right? It's vibrant, it's different. Haircuts,
but you set up little pods.
Right. So that, and even pods where you can play with the color, you can use it on mannequins, you can use it on swatches, you can see it on a model.
But what's amazing to me is they come here and they go, oh, that's a great idea. But they could do the same thing for their customers too. We're launching new trends in color. Invite their top customers to come in, and every station is showing a different technique. And it could encourage a new kind of color enthusiasm in their salon.
Absolutely.
Or even updos, or figuring out a different way to expedite traffic during prom season and wedding season and so on and so forth. But we have to make sure that people are enjoying themselves during the process. That's not always easy. Plus, we cater in every event.
And, and we have our signature cookies, and everyone has candy as well throughout the day. So give
why
a sugar rush.
why do you think they say no one does it like us, Trish?
Because we truly care, right?
Care factor.
Yes.
And then it's all the what?
It's all the little extras. All the, there's a lot of thought that goes into it. If someone attends one of our virtual classes, they don't just get a Zoom link, right? They're getting a product kit, they're getting a goodie bag, some cookies, something to make you feel like
you were here.
Yeah,
that you were
PSC
here
in your home.
Mm-hmm. So when you think about everything you do, what are Fridays like for you? Tell me about your Fridays.
Fridays, they're a catch-up day, right? So,
but they're also, you're checking to see if everything's ready.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the last thing I do too, is I walk the property. I mean, I'm not going to look at it like you do, but I'm looking for all the things that are in place, so when you walk in, we're not prepping in front of the customer ever.
Right.
Right?
Right.
And how do companies do that?
I don't know. Because, right, there's a lot of times where the educator will say, okay, I need to be there at 2 hours beforehand to be able to set up for the event. And my response is always, just tell me what you need and we'll take care of it for you. And then when they get here, they're still in shock as to, wow, the room is really done.
Well, I can remember I was teaching one time and I was the instructor. And they said, okay, you get lunch now. And they threw cold cuts on the table and a loaf of bread. And I thought, oh, are you serious? And when we have beverage service, our whole staff knows how to serve our guests. Talk about that. How do we train that here?
How do we train that? We just watch. Well, first they're the guest, right? So whenever anyone starts, they attend our business classes. And so in that instance, they can watch. They can watch how we serve our guests, how we serve them. In turn, they get to...
So we set up a buffet, but our staff serves them.
Mm-hmm.
We get all the beverages, we do all the tidying up, and we make
Yes.
sure that everything's in place. So we really could be a catering, I don't know, an event location. We're not just education. And I think when we decided to teach customer service, we had to be such an example of it. And so I love when they say, you don't have to get my beverage. Oh, yes, I do.
Mm-hmm.
And even I serve, Steve serves, I clean up, Steve cleans up, we all do. And they always say, you don't have to do that. And I want them to know, and I think we instill in this in our example, that they're serving us better than we're serving our guests.
Mm-hmm.
So I always want them to learn something to bring back to their repertoire of service as a result. What are you excited about? What was the hardest part about last year besides the obvious?
The hardest part was the unknown, right? So, as you said, I planned for the whole entire year. So, when everything gets canceled and then we don't know who can we have here? How many can we have here? What does that look like? I think that would be the hardest part.
We were sitting down when we were planning 2021, and I said to you, how many seats? What do you want? What's our goal? What are we projecting we're going to do here? And we went with a very safe number because we didn't know when we were going to be able to start really welcoming traffic in here. And do you remember when Todd was in here? He brought all the educators in, and he said the first time he was in here, he wanted to run. Just
run and scream. Was so excited
because he
to be
missed
back.
he missed being with his counterparts.
Yes.
and missed being in his learning, what he referred to, I can't remember how he said it, but it was his fuel, and he was back in here.
Yes.
What are you most proud of in your department?
I'm just so proud of how easy it is. Right? There's definitely days where it's hard, but with the two girls, they just make it so easy.
And we've done everything we can. We talked about this with Tammy too, but when there's a frustration or a stress fracture, that's what I call them, we have changed our systems of how our consultants communicate with us, and we've created a system around so we can do that with ease. And I'm really proud of that.
Absolutely.
What are you most excited about the rest of this year? What are headliners that you think we're going to be able to have in? I mean,
right? I have education planned through June right now. So I'm excited to see in the next couple of months what that looks like for the rest of the year and what can we, right, for what we can do. And
well, you've also opened this up to allow salons to use this as a team.
Absolutely.
Right? It's hard to walk by and see this empty. It's like watching a salon walk by theirs and seeing no one in the seats. That was really hard for us, especially, like I said earlier, it's a core value of our company. And education, we know, creates confidence, and confidence creates such power. Knowledge equals confidence, confidence equals power, and we haven't been able to deliver that, and that's been a true void for us. So when we're in our meetings talking about the rest of 2021 and going into 2022, do you think virtual's here to stay?
Absolutely.
You do?
I think in some form. I mean, I love what we've created and how we can have people in-house and we can have people virtually, right? So for some of those guests who can't commit to the drive, this gives them that option. But I do know that there's still some people out there who just want to be here, want to get their hands in it.
I'm so proud of what we've done. And if you think about this room that we're sitting in, you know, we launched it, I think, November of 2015. So this year it'll be 6 years old in November, which is hard to believe. How many different ways have you used this room?
Oh my gosh, it's endless. Whether it's artists on stage, we use it as a look and learn, we use it as a business class, we use it as training for educators, we even use it for sales meetings, you name it, we can do it.
So when we take away, when you think of 52 weeks, is that how you think, 52 weeks?
About 50.
50.
Because we take away Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Okay, so you think of 50 weeks. Here I've got 50 weeks to play with. How am I going to make the biggest impact? And who's the next? Who's on the hot list for people they want to see?
Right now, it's really more about techniques. It's not the who. It's what are they going to learn?
Good. Trish, thank you. I know it's been a tough year, but you handled it beautifully.
Thank you.
I think I would have laid in the street.
Oh, there were definitely days I wanted to.
But the plan, trusting your plan A, B, C, D, and being ready to say, what can we do?
Yes.
Even if there's limitations, what can we do? Thank you. That's a great lesson for them. Thank you.
Thank you.